feeling the vibrations that you guys are bringing in here, yes?
Yes.
Because you're bringing the energy. It's not just me. I've talked to you guys about this before. I may come up here, I may speak, I may do the talky talk part, but you guys are the divine. You guys are spirit-based manifest. There's no single one of us, no teacher. And of course, sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget, but I'm always reminded that Reverend Michael always wants me to tell you that he thinks about you. He always wants me to be one of those physical manifestations, just like Reverend Keith is, just like Kimberly is, that you guys are a part of what agape is. You are so much of the vision that was established back in 85, 84, when they were slowly birthing the community that would be founded as agape in 1986. And so you guys are a part of a destiny. Can you embrace that?
Yes.
Not only do you have a destiny, but you are a part of this global destiny, this eternal unfoldment that is spirit. It's not merely just sort of the pages and scriptures a little bit. It's not merely just sort of the timeless ideas of principles and spirituality and law, but there is a living expression in life that is you. And you are an on purpose with a purpose. No matter what your daddy or your mama might have said, it caused you an accident. You didn't intend for you to get here. The best part about that is always that they didn't have anything to do with it anyway. That no matter how much they may have tried, all that practicing they were doing, the reality is that they could not have orchestrated your existence any more than they could have figured out their own life. Oh yeah, your parents had it together too. And we're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to figure out this journey. And I love that you guys are doing exactly what the students are doing around the world, at least in America right now, which is taking it back to basics. There is just something very essential about your theme of the month here at Soul Center. Taking it back to basics is such an essential thing that we all need to do. We always have to remember the basic, fundamental thing that we're doing, especially if we find ourselves stuck. How many of you have either ever been stuck or are currently recognizing that there are stuck areas of your life? Let me hear you. For those of you that aren't acquainted, the rumbling on the floor is one of the personal gifts that I bring to Soul Center to get people up a little bit, get them a little energized. And so if you hear anything that you agree with today or anything that you want to co-sign, stomp your feet with it. And so the topic that I'm bringing to you that Spirit gave me, and I really wasn't clear all of what it was bringing, is getting unstuck, free, and ahead by taking it back. The challenge that I had with the topic myself when it came through was that I realized that you really can't get ahead. So I'll come back to that in a minute. But I want to talk about what's been going on in my life. I know you want to know.
I do.
For the past 2 days, Friday and Saturday, I've been in an amazing workshop with Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. He taught a ministerial intensive on Friday evening, and then he taught an all-day workshop on prosperity, plenitude, and infinite possibilities. And while I would love to just go ahead and regurgitate everything that he said to you, some of that is actually in my awareness for what we were talking about and what was coming through. So what I always love is how Spirit is simultaneously doing these parallel things. And so as I've been available for what's coming in right now, one of the clear things that Reverend Michael talked about over the many things that he talked about is this idea of more than enough and what that does to us in consciousness, right? So when I was meditating on this idea of getting ahead, it was the same frequency. There was just something about how the world approaches trying to get ahead that is actually an affirmation of something that we don't want. If you're trying to get ahead, that means you don't want to be where?
Where you are.
Right here, right now. So in our finances, we try to get ahead. And if we're so worried about trying to put money away, then also, what are we affirming? We're affirming lack. It doesn't mean not to plan, but it is always in the energy with which you do anything, right? So if we're saving money and we're saving it for a rainy day, that's not necessarily affirming disaster. But if I always hold everything with a tight fist so that nothing can get in and nothing can get out, I'm affirming an idea of fear, worry, of doubt, which is the combination of, DAC is a combination of doubt and lack. You got new words. Don't come to me with your DAC. What is that? Well, let me tell you. And so we have all of this stuff that we're trying to do. We're trying. We're always trying. And we're not doing. We're not being. We're not allowing. In some cases, we're not even living. There's so many TV shows that are an accurate reflection of what humanity looks like. The Walking Dead. I mean, think about it sometimes. There's just so many people walking around and there's just a dearth of life. There's just a vacancy. There's just this vapid emptiness that is their life. And you're looking at them and they have so much. Some of them have so many cars. They have such a good job. They have the husband or the wife or the children, and they're still just complaining. They're still just angry. They're still just upset. And they don't want anybody else to have anything either. One of the big challenges with this idea of how we function as a nation is absolutely with this idea that we don't want everybody to have. Not because we're worried about how much it'll cost. That's not really what it's about. There is a belief in scarcity that runs the race consciousness of humanity. And so when the reading that Paulette read, it was talking about race consciousness. To unpack that for you a little bit more, it's like the idea of something as simple and ugly as racism. Racism doesn't have to be the cursing and the nasty names and the nasty words. It could just be how a person who is a minority, who is not the majority in the room, is made to feel. Just the energy that people who hold those views project in their face and how they will treat one customer and treat another customer differently. And to pretend like people don't have a full experience of that is ignorant. Like, we know that these things exist. And so when we talk about the race consciousness, it's not so much to focus on the idea of racism, but pull back and come back into lack. And so if everybody's running around worried about lack, I was so disturbed yesterday reading that Jeff Bezos, now that Amazon has consumed Whole Foods, is cutting the benefits of part-time workers. Bruh, come on. You got how much money? And you don't think that 1,900 people need the benefits? That's a lack consciousness. There is just a problem with the way corporations and businesses, small businesses, big businesses, people who are managers, supervisors, people who have their own businesses, approach the expression of the energy that is wealth, that is abundance, that is plenitude. Notice where I went. Abundance, wealth, and plenitude. I don't care anything about the personal being in this conversation. Spirit is impersonal. It doesn't choose one group of people over another group of people. It doesn't give one group of people more preference, more abundance, more resources. That's people. That's people's choice how to distribute, where to distribute, when to distribute. So when you look at all that's going on, let's go back to this first question. Do you know, or are you able to acknowledge whether or not there's any area in your life that you are stuck? Because the first thing you have to figure out is if you're stuck. So if we look at our life structures, I'm going to give them to you. Your finances, your health, your resources, your spiritual practices in your relationship, your community, your ego, your mind, your beliefs. Are there any things in any of those areas where you are not progressing forward? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so what are you? Come on, like an AA meeting. Come on. What are you experiencing? Let me rephrase that, because that's really how I want to say it. The idea is to just be able to notice it. It's not reality, though. Because you admit something, you acknowledge something, you recognize something, you are not then, because we get caught up in the ditches on the right and on the left. This old minister, Kenneth Hagin in Christian faith, always used to talk about people always, they get off the path and they get stuck in the ditch on the left and on the right. Leslie and I were riding to Soul Center this morning, and there was all this stuff about construction. Patricia had sent me a concern. They were shutting down the 405, and so Waze had that in the programming on our way, and it had me get off the 405 here and come back on the 405 there. But it didn't seem like, when the freeway is blocked up, you start seeing traffic build up, so you kind of know. I was like, I'm going to follow you, Waze, but I don't think I need to today. I think you think that the freeway is, and so when I was driving, I was like, I looked down, I was like, what are they doing down there while I'm driving here on Magnolia, going around so I get back on the freeway? I was like, okay, well, didn't seem like it. Sometimes we see something like that and then we get stuck. So we started talking about this idea. It's like, well then, I could get stuck on trying to figure out what happened. And I need to know what happened because I don't want it to happen again. And if I don't figure out what happened or why it's happening, then what am I going to do? You get stuck simply there. Instead of saying, Waze took me off the freeway, Waze put me back on the freeway, and that's the end. And going on with my life. But how many of us get stuck like that? We get stuck on why didn't somebody say hi to us? We get stuck on why we didn't get the promotion. We get stuck on why we haven't gotten pregnant. We get stuck on all of these different things in different circumstances, and it's not to deny your experience. But I don't want you to get stuck. Imagine if the moon just got stuck. The moon. It's like you woke up on Thursday, you woke up on... Weren't you right there 2 hours ago? Moon, shouldn't you be moving? Shouldn't you be in your purpose, rotating, moving, shifting the cycles of the earth? I need you to get unstuck. The moon, stuck. The sun is like, I'm not going to shine through you all day. I need you on the other side. And there's all of this ways that we can get stuck. But I want you to get free. But you have to understand that you're stuck in some areas in order to get free. There are a lot of people walking around with chains and collars that are invisible. Many of you have wonderful financial resources at home that you're just scared to touch. You don't want to spend it. You don't want to circulate the energy. You don't see how you could be a blessing and how you could activate more love, more joy, more peace, more harmony, more balance in the universe if you would just slide somebody a check, if you would make a donation or a contribution, or if you would go ahead and build the dream house, if you would go ahead and actually begin the company or the corporation or the vision that you have. You're stuck and you're not free. There are so many levels to freedom. And in our culture, in our country, specifically, there are ways where people, we think they're free, they look free, even they think they're free, but they're a prisoner to opinion. They're a prisoner to what the world says a woman should look like. They're a prisoner to what the world says a relationship is supposed to look like. They can't just simply look at two people and be okay that they love each other. Like, that should be the standard. Like, when you meet somebody and they're in a relationship, how many times, and my brother got on me about this a long time ago because he got into a relationship with someone, and the first question that he was asked is, well, what does she do for a living? What does her job have to do with our relationship? I mean, you could say, why are you together? It's a little direct. But you could just say, what do you love about her? I mean, if you really care about your friends and your family members and the relationships that they're in, that's what you really want to know. Because if you love them and they love them, don't you also want to fall in love with them? Don't you also love and want the expansion of love to happen because it's happened in your friend's life or your cousin's life or your parents' life? Some of our parents have gotten remarried and, oh my God, who is you? I need to know. But the reality is there love there? And so we talk about getting unstuck. We talk about getting free. Now back to getting ahead, which I've already said is an impossibility, right? So I'm right here, standing right now. And think about every aspect that we talked about, your spiritual practice, your finances, your resources, your relationships, right? I am an embodiment on the physical expression of all of those things right now. How can I get ahead of my own existence? It is an impossibility. You can make plans. You can plan what you're going to do Tuesday. But if the building that you are going to go into on Tuesday no longer exists, what's up with that plan? How's that plan working for you? My Dr. Phil. If you live out there, you're living a lie. Because you cannot live in the future. You cannot live beyond now. But what could you do? You could have a holy encounter right here, right now. You could have a holy encounter everywhere you go. You could have a holy encounter and divinely ahead. A holy encounter and divinely. So, how do you do that, Jason? So glad you asked. It's important that you understand what it means to be holy. It really is, because we got a holy Bible. We've got holy boop. We've got, you said it. You translated it. I just don't say it in church. We have all of these different uses of the word. And when I'm saying holy to you, I'm saying holy is holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y. Bring those things together and allow yourself to embrace the spiritual principle that is there, which is wholeness. You are not separate from the thing that put the moon in place and would never allow it to get stuck. Thank goodness. We need the tides. You are absolutely one with the same thing that created the bees so that they could pollinate the flowers. You're absolutely one with the same thing that gave intelligence and brilliance into your body, that taught your heart how to pump. It also taught the physicians, it gave them the divine genius to create a fibrillator for our brother David. Right? That same intelligence. You've got to take yourself and pull it all in. You've got to see God in all of it, including members of political parties you disagree with, including dictators who have done horrible things on the planet. They are not purposed by the presence. They are the presence trying to disrupt the limitations that humanity has embraced so that we could break through and break out of separation. I've said this before, and it was a teaching that was very difficult for me to embrace. But a teacher, this was shared through Reverend Michael in a class that he was in many, many years ago, that said, it's really hard to try to figure out the African slave trade. It really is hard to reason that when you look at humanity. But what I want to tell you about your European relatives and your European cousins and your Portuguese cousins, all of them are better because they have black people in their lives now. All of them are better because Africans have spread the energy that they were holding in the continent across the earth. All of these ancestors, the world is so much better, and there was a disruption. And I'm not saying that that was the divine plan, but I'm saying that the divine is going to use anything and everything that is happening, and that if you look further down the road, you can see that there are blossoms that are blooming that came out of the ugly muck and mire. The saying is, no mud, what? No lotus. The lotus is one of the most beautiful flowers. It grows in mud. Not just like watery, dirty water, but thick, gooey, you can't swim through it kind of a substance. And so what I'm calling your attention to is, can you have a holy encounter? Can you see the wholeness of your being even when your bank account doesn't look right? Because it may not always, especially with the stock market fluctuations. Can you see the holy encounter? Can you have a holy encounter when your back isn't feeling good? That was for me. Can you have a holy encounter when your relationship has come to an end? Can you have a holy encounter sitting at the bedside of your mother who's dealing with cancer? Can you have a holy encounter and let it be divine? Let everything be divine. Let the disruptive person that's working at the grocery store be divine. Bless you. As you cut in front of everybody. Bless you. But you don't mean it. That's kind of part of it. What I'm saying is, if you realize that we're all progressing, we're all moving. And we have experiences of being stuck. And that's part of it. Women who have birthed children have not wanted anything more than to get a baby unstuck out of their womb. But the pain that the birthing process teaches us so much. That there is pain that is a part of life. It's a part of life. But the suffering, the idea of getting stuck there, suffering is stuckness. When you find yourself stuck, you might need someone to help you out. That's why you're a part of a community. You come to Soul Center, you're a part of Soul Center, you're a part of this community. When you're not here, we notice. And because you're a part of this community, when you're not here, we notice, we can check on you. And we can check on you, and we can just say, how you doing? And then you can share. You let us know. You let us be there for you. You don't ever have to be alone. That's not a reality for us. It's not a reality for the world. You might need some alone time. Take a bath. Get a good soak in. Go for a walk in the trails. But just know that you're a part of this world for a reason. You're here to contribute so many beautiful gifts. Notice the areas where you're stuck in and just wiggle it just a little bit. You don't have to do a lot. Come on, Brian, you got to be faster. You got to disrupt the energy and the frequency. It's an agitation process. It's why your washing machine works so well. You ever think about it? The washing machine is working, it's dirty water and soap, but how do we get... The machine is designed to agitate and spin. I'm not going to do a spin. But that agitation is necessary in order to get out the things that are clogging us up. And so we go through agitation. So instead of calling something frustration, calling something your frustration, being frustrated and angry, notice that I'm experiencing frustration. The language matters. Notice that I'm experiencing anger because it's an experience. You are still Tanya, you are still Leanne, you are still Dee Dee, you're still Marianne, you're still Patricia, you're still Jessica, but you're experiencing anger. It's such an important experience to tweak so that you know the difference. blessing, but you still can see their divinity. You can still hope for a world that works for everyone because, look, when we take it back, getting unstuck, free and ahead, a holy encounter and divinely, by taking it back. What is the it that I'm asking you to take back? Your mind. The real you. Baby, when a baby is born, aside from the crying and utilizing of its vocal cords and developing its orchestral sound, is so joyful. Babies are so joyful. How is your joy these days? It can be really challenging to be in your joy in this environment of race consciousness. But the thing is, your joy has nothing to do with the environment. You are joy. Repeat after me. I am joy.
I am joy.
How's your love? Not your love life, not your sex life. I'm not trying to get all in your business. But how's your love? Are you able to experience and feel love for people? Are you walking in compassion? Do you not want people to experience the pain and the devastation and the challenges that they have? How is your love? Let's repeat after me. I am love.
I am love.
I am joy.
I am joy.
So with your joy and your love, there should be more joy and love in the world. Doesn't that feel nice? Can you feel that?
Yes.
Right now, there's more joy in the world. Right here. Right now. There's more love in the world. How's your peace? How's your peace? In the middle of the challenges and the difficulties and someone raging at you, how's your peace? Repeat after me. I am peace.
I am peace.
I am peace.
I am
There
peace.
is now more peace in the world because we have embraced the reality by having a holy encounter and divinely. Harmony, joy, love, peace, grace, creativity. All of these are divine qualities that each and every one of us are. So when you don't know the answer, which came up for me in the workshop yesterday, like you're in abundance and you're trying to figure out what to do, one of the things I can bring you from the workshop is this. How often do you ask and declare your own wisdom? Like we think about abundance, and then, but what do we, how many people have had $1 million and then next thing you know, they're broke? They lacked wisdom, discernment. You could also have an abundance of wisdom, an abundance of joy, an abundance of beauty. When we look at abundance, if we take our mind off the coin and the dollars and the dollar amount or the yen or the euro, and we think about an abundance of friends, an abundance of joy, an abundance of peace, an abundance of grace, an abundance of joy. Oh my God, I can go through so much with an abundance of joy. I can do so much with an abundance of peace. I can do so much with an abundance of joy. Is it just me? No. What about you? Could you use an abundance of joy?
Yes.
Are you joy?
Yes.
What do you now have?
Joy.
In abundance. Repeat after me. I am joy in abundance.
I am joy in abundance.
Say it like you mean it.
I am joy in abundance.
Everybody stand up. All right. First, Steve, get it started. I want to hear a little noise in your feet. Like tapping a little bit. Now I want you to declare this. You can stop stopping, and I want you to declare this like you are declaring the thing that you always wanted to say. That all the places and spaces in your life and in your world are coming from right now. I am joy in abundance. I am joy in abundance. I am peace in abundance. I am the living overflow. I have everything that I need. I am I'm just declaring the word that has been spoken from this place of joy as reality now. I'm declaring that it is not just a moment, not just today's service, not just a sermon, not just a talk. No, this is a shift in consciousness. That my whole life, that our whole lives, that everyone that we encounter recognizes and sees something about us, and they may not know what it is, but more joy is being realized in existence as our lives now. More peace, more harmony, more balance, more order, more creativity, more of life with a capital L itself is in existence now because of our yes. We simply allow it to be. And we are not who we were when we entered into this space. The holy ground upon which we stand is elevated not just in consciousness, not simply in the physical space, but because of the expansion that has been realized as our lives. I know this, I declare it is so, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen.
Amen.
So in that place of expansion, Jeff and Marianne are coming forward, and this is your time of sacred giving. How many of you can say that Soul Center is contributing positively to your life?
Yes.
Go ahead, Paulette, you're doing great. I like to raise hands, but I like to shake it up a little too. And if Soul Center is making a contribution to your life, what kind of investment could you make in this community? I want you to just consider that for a moment. Consider that not just today, but today going forward. How can you contribute to more of this for everyone here? More of this joy, more of this love, more of this healing, more of this transformation, more of this community, more people having someone to walk and talk with, to hold them in prayer and space. Doesn't that sound good?
Yes.
So as you prepare your offering, Jeff and Marianne, remember that I'm remembering stuff. Marianne and Jeff are going to go forward, and as you place your giving into the basket, even if you don't have anything, put a blessing in. And know that what you give is sacred. We know that it's your love. We know that it's what has been transmuted through you into this community. This community